What's going on, everybody? Today, back in the gear room, and we're going to talk about waxing and tuning your skis or snowboard. The exact same process for both. Today we're going to do it on a snowboard. So first, we'll check out everything you're going to need to do this. It's an iron, a scraper, a brush, wax, vices, edge sharpener, and P-Tex. Start by grabbing your little wax iron, and depending on the wax, turn it up to the recommended temperature. I like to go between 262 Fahrenheit and 302 Fahrenheit, so somewhere between there, I think I get the best results with my wax that I have here. And then go ahead and take your wax, and what you're going to do is pretty simple. You're just going to press your wax up against the iron, and it's going to melt, and it's going to drip all over your board. And then from there, you make a little bit of a wax pattern. So once the wax is hot enough, it starts melting, and I just do a zigzag pattern. Then I'll go back and touch up areas that I think I might have missed, like along the edges where I really wear it away. After you've gotten the wax melted on the board, it's going to harden back up. So then what you're going to do is take your iron, and then just like you're ironing your clothes, move that wax around so it's a nice even film across the entire surface. I like to do nice, slow circles, slowly melting the wax, spreading it around. You can always go back and touch up areas as needed with more wax if you feel like you're not having enough on the board. You want to make sure you pay close attention to that leading edge where you're engaging your turn, because that usually gets worn away pretty easily. And so that's where you want to definitely focus a lot of your time on. I think I reached a dry spot, so I'm just going to add a little bit more wax to it. Now the board is fully waxed. You can see all the residue. Now that you've got all your wax on, turn your iron off, and now let's scrape all that wax off again. I know what you're thinking. Hey, I just put all that wax on. Why am I scraping it off? So, well, you don't want the wax to be built up on the board or the skis. You actually want to remove it all, and then what you're left with is the wax that's in the core and like the porosity in your bases, and that's what's actually going to help you glide over the snow, not a glob of wax on the base of your skis or board. So take your plastic straight edge or whatever you're going to use to scrape off the wax, and then what you're going to do is hold it at about a 45-degree angle with a lot of pressure and scrape the wax off. And so you're going to get big chunks at first, as you can see. That's off the main layer, and then you're just going to keep going back and forth until you can't even scrape any left with your fingernail. That's when you know you've got a good removal of the wax. Also note, go with the grain of the board. Do not go across. You're going to want to go with the grain of the board, and that's going to give you the best results. This process obviously can get pretty messy really quickly, so make sure you have one, a tarp down, or you're outside where you don't worry about the wax getting all over the place, and two, have a big trash can nearby so you can just easily brush all those shavings right into a trash can and not worry about it later. One tip I've learned, as your scraper gets gunked up with wax, you need to get it off, just use the edge of your ski or board. Just easily use that edge, and then just right down the middle as well. And boom, good as new, probably even sharper than it was before. Another tip I've learned is, even when you think you've gotten all the wax off, you can always get more. And so the simple thing is, normally I do the main waxing with the long edge, flip that thing sideways, now I'll do the short edge right here, so you can apply more pressure to a smaller surface area, and then this will help get up that last bit before you head over to the brush. Always forward. This is why I said don't put too much wax on, because you're going to end up having to remove all of it. So the more wax you put on in the beginning, the more you have to remove. So less is best. Alright, so you think you're done now. You got as much of the wax off as possible with your scraper. Now get the little bit of the shavings off before we take the brush out and really start going with the grain. Alright, so for the next step, we're going to take our brush, with a lot of force, but not too much force, that your board's going to start rocking around. Really push with the grain. You're going to end up scraping up that last bit of wax off the surface, so it's very hard. You really can't get any more waxing with the fingernail. And then you just got to keep doing this until you see no more wax come up when you use the brush. No, that section's pretty good to go. So you want to do that across the whole board. All right, so now you got the whole board waxed and then removed all that wax and then you brushed it, so it's super good base right now. You can't wait to go shred. The last thing you're going to want to do, for most of you, unless you're like specifically a powder skier like in the Wasatch or Japan or something like that, I don't know, when you don't care about your edges, is now we're going to go tune the edges. But for the rest of us, we're going to take out our little file here and I'll show you how to tune your edges. Next, what you're going to want to do is prop the board or skis up vertically in those vices. They should have another little bracket to hold it in. And then what we're going to do for 3 times, one direction you can pretty much slide your finger right across, the other direction really grabs it. That's the direction you want to go. That sticky side, where it's really tough, that's the file side you're going to want to put on the board or your edges. So, and real quick before you go sharpening your edges, make sure they're clear of all wax, because otherwise you're just going to end up with wax inside your file and it's just going to dull it out. So make sure you really clean this off of any wax. And then you're going to do this 3 times. And if you do get any wax in your file, you can take a wire brush or something with bristles, and you can just go and brush it all out in the direction of the file cuts. After your first 3 passes on the one direction, on the one edge, what you can do is flip this about 90 degrees and then go along the other edge. So, because every edge has 2 on the outside and then on the bottom where the base is, so you've got to sharpen both of those, because as you sharpen one edge, it's going to fold that metal over and put it on the other, so you're just really cleaning it up on the other side. After you got the one side, flip it over, do the other, and then you're all set. Alright, thanks for watching this video. Hope I taught you something, hope you learned something, maybe something new that you haven't done before when you're waxing. So hopefully that works out for you. Let me know. If it doesn't, get out there, have a great ski day. Cheers.